Hello! Welcome to another episode of Todd Plays Video Games. Today we're going to be playing AI Dungeon again. We're going to do a little bit more advanced than what we did on the last playthrough. We're going to create a scenario. We're going to make some story cards. We're going to talk about context. So we're going to do things a little more complicated than last time. I say complicated. It's not really complicated. It's just actually very cool stuff that will let you shape your adventures and your stories the way that you want. Now, first of all, I took that free account and I have upgraded it to the $10 level so that we have unlimited turns and access to all the bells and whistles. And so we're going to start by creating a scenario. So, what is a scenario? Well, it is essentially, if you just hit play, it's one of these. Like if you do the preset built-in ones, if you say fantasy and then you choose a wizard like we had done last time, this is basically a scenario. So it's a very bare bones simple scenario, but it's a scenario. It asks you what your name is, Joe, and then it loads up the selection, and it has a starting thing here where it says you are Joe, a wizard living in the kingdom of Larion. You have a staff and a spell book. This first part is all part of the scenario. It is built into the scenario. So these first three lines here will always display exactly this way. Then the stuff after it is randomly generated by the AI. So basically, a scenario gives you a way to set up ahead of time what you want the introductory story to be. It also lets you create characters and locations and stuff ahead of time instead of making them on the fly. So let's do that. Let's make our own. We're going to hit the play button here and we're going to go to create scenario. Bam. Now, if you know you're going to create a fantasy scenario, you can do that and it just pre-populates, I think, the author's note, which we'll talk about later, and maybe the opening paragraph. If I'm creating a scenario, I'm doing it specifically so I can do my own thing entirely. So let's do empty, because empty is what I always do. Okay, and the first thing it's going to ask you is opening story. This is in the one we just looked at, the first three lines, but it can be more or less than three lines, depending on what you want. This is the opening paragraph of the adventure. And I should say, one of the great things about scenarios is that you can share them with other people, and you can download other people's scenarios. Download's not technically the right word, but you can play other people's scenarios too. And so creating a scenario lets you create a world and share it with other people. And when they play it, they're going to get a different experience than you did, just because the AI is going to make things random. And of course, they're going to put in different inputs. They're going to do different things. But some of the things that you've set up in the scenario, characters and locations in the opening sentence, will be the same. So everyone is getting to play in the same sandbox, but they're also getting to do their own thing in it. So anyway, and of course, even if you don't share it with anyone, I create scenarios when I have a situation that I want to play myself over again with the same kind of setup, the same beginning, the same characters. Instead of inputting all that every single time, I put it in a scenario and then I can hit the play button. I don't have to do any of that setup again. It's already there. So, the opening paragraph. One of the first things you'll want to do is learn how to do $, squiggly bracket, character dot name, squiggly bracket, because this is how you ask the player what their name is. So we're just going to do $, squiggly bracket, character dot name, and squiggly bracket. And then before that, we're going to put something so it kind of makes sense. You are character name. So what's going to happen when someone starts playing the scenario is the first thing they're going to get is please input your character name, because the AI will have read the whole opening paragraph and it'll see that it's asking for this at some point. So it'll ask you that up front. It'll ask the player that up front. And then when it gets to that variable, character.name, in the scenario, it'll put in whatever they've typed in for their name. And so we can do other things as well. Character name is kind of the most basic one, but you can do anything. Your character name, and you enjoy your job and now we're going to ask the player what they want their job to be. I'm imagining this is going to be a modern day scenario, FYI. So we're going to do $ squiggly bracket. And what we're about to type inside the squiggly bracket is what will be displayed on the screen when the scenario is asking the player to input their answer. And it is also the variable name, essentially, if you're familiar with programming. So, but we want this to be telling the user what they're putting in here. So, what is your modern day job? And squiggly bracket. You just got off work and walk into a cafe. Okay, so we have you are $squiggly, character.name, and squiggly, and you enjoy your job as a $squiggly. What is your modern day job, and squiggly, dot. You just got off work and walk into a cafe. So what is going to happen when the player plays this is it's going to ask them for the character name, it's going to ask them what is your modern day job, and then it's going to display this whole paragraph, but instead of the squigglies, it's going to have the answers that they've provided. So this paragraph will ultimately make sense. I'm going to go on and do one more thing. When you walk into the cafe, let's see here, Sam, the not bartender, I was thinking Cheers, that's why I said Sam. The barista says, hello, $squiggly, character.name, and squiggly. You want your usual? Okay, so we're going to hit finish, and we're going to play this, what we've got so far. This is the scenario. Right now it's untitled, and it's just randomly picked this background that looks like a ninja, which doesn't make any sense for the scenario, but that's okay because it just picked one random. It doesn't matter. So we hit play, and it asks for your character name. I'll be Todd. I'll just be me. It's fine. It's fine. Continue, and now it says, what is your modern day job, which is what I asked for. I'm going to say architect, because that sounds cool. And I hit the go button, and then it thinks for a minute, and here it says, you are Todd, and you enjoy your job as a architect. Should have been an architect, but that's fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. You just got off work and walk into a cafe. When you walk into the cafe, Sam, the barista, says, hello, Todd. You want your usual? So right there, we've established some things. Most importantly, we've established some variables that you, when you play it, or anyone else, when they play it, can create for themselves. They can create their own name. They can create their own job, which is cool. And I should point out that when it asks for what is your job, your modern day job, which is what we put in the squigglies, technically the AI will accept any input. So somebody could type in giraffe, and the AI would be like, and you enjoy your job as a giraffe. That's fine. That's fine. Ultimately, this is all a sandbox, and if a person plays your scenario and they want to be ridiculous, they can be. It's fine. It doesn't affect you. It's their story that they're creating, and if they want their job to be giraffe, that's them. That's their jam. Okay, and then it says, as you step into the cozy, dimly lit cafe. Now, this is all stuff the AI has created, and it will be different every time. We only created that initial 2 sentences, or 3 sentences, I guess. Comforting aroma of fresh brewed coffee and the soft hum of conversation greets you. So this is enough already to just get, like, this could be the whole scenario. You could just maybe slap a name on it and call it done. You've established already that it's modern day, that you're walking into a cafe and you've got a job, and the Sam person who's the barista knows you. We've actually already created a good framework. If you wanted to just have a modern day thing, you could go from here. This is enough. But we're going to do more than that. So we're going to exit that game, and this was a tricky one for me at first. It's so silly. To get back into the scenario, click on your little character face just to the left of the play button, and go to My Stuff/Profile. And here, it starts by showing you all your adventures. And if you click on scenarios, now you can see all your scenarios. So we're going to click on this one that we just made. Boop. and we can go back in and we can edit it. All right. Things might look a little different if you're on mobile, but it's basically the same. So now we're back in here. We're pretty happy with how that start went. So we're going to go over the details, and we're going to name it something so that it's not just untitled and confusing. Cafe Adventures. Okay, the description and tags really only matter if you're going to share it with other people, and we're not, so it's fine. I don't need to describe it to myself. I know what I'm doing. And we're going to go to, and we're going to click this little pencil icon on the picture here, and I'm going to pick a picture that makes a little more sense, just so that if I was in theory, I'll go to drama. If I was in theory creating a whole bunch of scenarios on this account, I might want a picture that makes sense just so I can find it again more easily. And obviously, if you're going to share the scenario, you want something that makes sense. You can also upload a picture for this, but that seems like a lot of work for what we're doing right now. This one kind of looks like a cafe. It's an outdoor cafe, I guess. That's fine. Good enough. Boop, boop, boop. I think that right now, changing that picture for the scenario does not work on mobile. So you might have to do this from a desktop computer if you want to change the picture. FYI. Of course, that could change as of 5/12/2024. I don't believe that works on mobile. If you're watching this a month from now or a year from now, it may be fixed. Honestly, if you're watching this a year from now, everything I say could be different. They make changes a lot, so take everything with a grain of salt if it's an old video by the time you view it. Okay, so we've got a name, Cafe Adventures. We've got a picture that makes sense. We're going to go to a story card. Now, I've already established this character, Sam the Barista, right? And the AI will just make up Sam the Barista because I said its name. And it is an amazing improv partner. It'll just go with it. Okay, there's a Sam and it's a barista. Bam, it'll create something. But we can create a story card to really explain to the AI what Sam the Barista is all about. And creating a story card is also a good idea, not only because it lets you establish what a character is before you even start playing and set some parameters. Story cards are also good because the AI cannot remember what happened in your adventure past a certain point. So if we develop Sam, the barista, we talk to him a whole bunch and develop a lot of details about him, and then we go off and fight a dragon or something. When we come back to the cafe, the adventure may have gone on for so long that the AI will have forgotten everything we established about Sam at the beginning, and we'll walk in and say, "Hey, Sam," and Sam will be like, "Who are you?" Which is very frustrating after you've put a lot of effort into establishing something. Story cards never get forgotten, though. They get activated when something in the story triggers them, and then they get deactivated if they haven't been used for like 3 turns. But it's a way to create something that the AI is going to remember at any point during the story. So it's important. Honestly, the fact that the AI forgets things after a certain amount of time is one of the biggest limitations that AI Dungeon has. There's ways to work around it to a degree, but it is what it is. That's just something. The AI is not going to remember a 120,000 page novel. Although there is, if you are on like the highest tier and you're willing to pay a lot of money, there is a way to make it remember almost that much, but it's extremely expensive and not worth talking about in this video. Okay. So we're going to create a story card, and I'm going to go to custom here and type in character. It doesn't really matter. The AI doesn't look at the class, race, location, faction, or custom label. It's really just for you to keep track of things. So we're going to go into the story card. We're going to enter title, and we're going to say Sam the Barista. I almost said bartender again. And now, the title also doesn't really matter. It's just for us. The entry is important. The entry is where we're actually going to describe Sam. So we're going to start by saying Sam is a barista at the... I'm not going to name the cafe right now. I'm going to say the cafe that the player frequents. Sam is friends with the player and knows their order by heart. Sam is cheerful and kind. Now, this is one way to do the entry. You can just use natural English language to fill out the entry. We could also, so remember when I said that the AI doesn't remember a lot? That's what we call context. Context is the information the AI is aware of when it creates the next output, the next sentence, what have you. If you trigger the story card, some of that context is going to be used up with all the text that we're writing in the entry. So, the longer the entry is, the less context will be available for everything else. It's not a huge deal, but it's something to be aware of. If you really want to be a pro scenario creator, if you really want to do this the best that it can be done, you're going to want to keep this as short and sweet as possible. And the story card does not have to be natural English. It can just be Sam, comma, barista. We could say male barista, just to be clear. Knows the player, friendly, kind, and we could say something, and has short brown hair. Oh, we don't have to say and has. We say short brown hair. Bam. Now it's only just over one sentence. It'll take up less memory. And it will still describe everything about Sam as far as the AI is concerned. It's got all the keys, all the key essential components that the AI needs to know who or what Sam is. Now the triggers. The triggers are actually very important. Let's do this. Let's give Sam a last name. Sam Sampson, the barista. Okay, I know. That's a great last name, isn't it? Incredibly inventive and creative. Wow. Sam Sampson, male barista, knows the player, friendly, kind, short brown hair. So the triggers is going to be how the AI knows when to load this into its operational memory to make decisions about it. If we leave the cafe and we go fight a dragon, which is terrorizing modern day New York, I guess, which you got to admit would be a thing that needs dealing with. The AI doesn't need to waste any of its context, operational memory, on Sam. Sam's not there. Sam's gone. He's back at the cafe. Don't waste your precious processing power remembering Sam. So it's going to forget everything in the story card until and unless it is triggered. So the trigger is literally a word that we will type in at any point that will make it load this card and know everything in this story card. Obviously, his name is a great one to put in here. If we say Sam, we're going to want the AI to load up this card and know everything about Sam. But here's a trick. If we say Sam Sampson in this trigger, it will only trigger if we say his full name. The way it is written right here, if we say Sam, it won't know. It'll create a brand new person named Sam. It won't be the Sam, because the trigger is Sam space Sampson. So what we want to do is Sam, comma, Sampson, comma, cafe, comma, barista. Now the commas separate things. So now if we say Sam, it will load this card. If we say Samson, it will load this card. If we say cafe, it'll load this card. If we say barista, it'll load this card. So at this point, if I type in, I go to the cafe to get a coffee, the AI is gonna load this card. It's gonna be aware of Sam Sampson, the male barista who knows the player is friendly, kind, and has short hair. It may not actually choose to just bring up Sam Sampson all on its own, but at least it will know. It'll have this in its operational memory or context, which is the whole point of this. So, also, I should point out, I don't need to type in Samson, actually, because the way it is set up, Sam, as a trigger, will trigger if the letters SAM show up as part of a word. So, if I say at some point, hello, Samantha, it'll trigger this card because Sam is part of the word Samantha. it'll know that this is not Samantha. It'll create some AI NPC to be Samantha, but it'll load this card and use up some of our memory because SAM was part of a word that was used. So actually, Samsung is unnecessary. Oh, yes, it is though, because if I type in, well, nope, it's not. If I don't have Samson and I type in Samson, it will trigger on the SAM part of the word Samson. This is getting complicated. Hopefully you understand my point. Basically, just put in their first name, comma, last name, so that you don't have to type in the entire name to trigger it. Okay, there we go. Save. Bam. Boy, I feel like I'm saying a lot of words to communicate things, and that maybe I'm making it more complicated than it needs to be. Let me take this opportunity to tell you that there is a built-in guidebook in AI Dungeon. Also, AI Dungeon on Reddit and AI Dungeon on Discord are fantastic resources to learn about all this stuff. So if everything I'm saying doesn't make any sense to you, or if I confuse you, those are some sources. The AI Dungeon on Reddit or Discord are great places to go to try to get some clarification. Everybody there seems really nice to new users too, very willing to answer questions and stuff. So it's a good community, which is another thing that makes playing this a lot of fun. Okay, so we've created Sam Sampson the barista. Let's create a location. Bam. We're just going to call it Cafe. Cafe is the coffee shop that the player visits daily. Sam Sampson works there. Again, I didn't have to make it natural English. I could have shortened it, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Let's move on. Triggers are going to be cafe, coffee, and Sam. So this will basically get loaded. If I say Sam, it'll load the Sam card that we made earlier, and it will also load this entry about the cafe, which means it'll use more memory than maybe we want it to do necessarily, but it'll also mean that the AI will have all the information about not just Sam, but also the cafe that he works at. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then let's do one new thing. I wanted to say, yeah, we're going to do custom, we're going to do character, and we're going to do Bernie the dragon. Bernie is a baby dragon. And triggers are going to be Bernie and dragon. All right. That's not a lot of information, but it's enough. It's enough. Bernie and dragon. So it'll trigger if we say dragon. Okay, so at this point we can go into the plot and we can have Sam say, oh, here we can add one more sentence. As you're about to say yes, the news comes on the cafe TV and reports a dragon is flying around downtown. Bam. Now we've obviously set up a scenario where Bernie the dragon is going to be flying around downtown. What's going to happen next? Who knows? I'm excited. Bam. Okay, let's play this and see what it does now. Loading the adventure. My name is Todd. My job is trucker. Todd the trucker. And it loads a selection. You are Todd and you enjoy your job as a trucker. You just got off work. Blah, blah, blah. As you're about to say yes, the news comes on the cafe TV and reports a dragon is flying around downtown. Sam's eyes widen in surprise as he turns up the volume on the TV. Wow, a dragon? I've never seen one before. You glance at the screen and see footage of a small winged creature soaring through the sky, leaving a trail of smoke behind. The newscaster is frantically trying to keep up with its movements. Okay, let's just play this real quick and just kind of see where this goes. I'm going to use a do action. I'm going to say, I tried to figure out from the images on the TV where exactly the dragon is. Let's see what it says. You squint your eyes at the TV screen trying to make out the location of the dragon. Based on the footage, the newscaster is having a hard time keeping up with the fast-moving creature, but you manage to catch a glimpse of a familiar downtown landmark in one of the shots. It's flying near City Park, you tell Sam. I think I know where that is. Okay, I'm going to do a do action. I run out of the cafe and hop in my car to drive to the city park. As you rush out of the cafe and into your car, you can't help but feel a sense of excitement. The drive is nerve-wracking as you weave in and out of traffic, trying to reach your destination as quickly as possible. I'm just going to do continue. As you approach the city park, you notice a large group of people gathered near the entrance, all pointing up to the sky. As you park your car and join them, looking up at the small dragon, Bernie flying in a wide circle above the park. So notice what just happened there. The AI called it by its name, Bernie. I have never typed Bernie into the text of the adventure. It's getting that from the story card. Because when we used the word dragon, it triggered the story card, and the story card told it the dragon's name is Bernie. So that's how story cards work. Bernie is a beautiful creature with iridescent scales that shimmers in the sunlight. Okay, let's exit. And now this is something you should know about if you're creating a scenario and you keep playtesting it, is on your recently played screen, you're going to have an adventure for every time you hit the play button. So if you're doing a lot of playtests, your number of adventures is going to load up, and each adventure is going to remember the settings of the scenario when you hit play. So this one that I created first is not going to remember Bernie because I didn't create Bernie until the second time we were in there. Just something to keep in mind. I'm going to click my face, go to my stuff/profile, click on scenarios. We're going to go back into Cafe Adventures and edit it. Okay. Now I want to create an author's note. So what is that? Here under plot, in the plot tab where we had our opening paragraph for the story, we're going to hit add plot component. I'm going to say author's note. Now, the author's note, as it, like it says here, influences the AI's writing style with directions. So you want to keep the author's note very, very brief because the author's note is going to be included with the in the context, in the operational memory, every single time you take a turn. So if this is long, it's going to use up a bunch of that limited context, that limited operational memory space every single turn, and you don't want that. So the author's note's also pretty powerful, and because it's included with every single turn, it affects the entire story, really. So you want to keep it short and brief. The best format I've found is to say writing style, colon, and vivid prose. Vivid prose is one that everybody on the internet seems to say is a good one to use. So I'm going to use vivid prose. I also want to use, let's see, writing style. Let's see. Let's do comedic. I think comedic is a good one because this is a lighthearted kind of fantasy, even though it's in modern times. And then theme is going to be modern day, wacky adventure. Okay, so writing style tells it how to write. Write vivid prose. Write with a lot of detail that will help the reader generate images in their mind. Vivid prose. Comedic. I'm hoping that will make it try to write in a funny way. That's the idea. And then the theme is to say, like, theme would be high fantasy or psychological horror or space opera, you know, if you wanted to do a Star Trek thing. The theme is the genre of story that you're telling. So anyway, and you could do something else like you could say something like the player is good with animals. Although, yeah, you can put that here. That's fine. But yeah, three lines is probably as much as you want to do with the author's note. So we've got that. We've got the author's note telling it what kind of story to tell. And we've got story cards setting up a place, a character, and a little dragon friend. Let's go ahead and try this again and see what happens this time. Boop. I'm going to hit the play button. I'm still going to be Todd, and this time my job is boop, pilot. I'm going to be a pilot this time. Why not? You've noticed the job doesn't really have anything to do with anything, so it's fine. Okay. Sam's eyes widen in surprise. A dragon? That's insane, he explains. The cafe's patrons are glued to the TV watching the breaking news with a mix of excitement and fear. Just then, you heard a loud crash coming from the back of the cafe. You turn to see a small baby dragon trying to squeeze itself through the back door, its scales glistening in the afternoon sun. So I feel like the text that it is generating is different than the first time. Obviously, the events that are happening are different, but I feel like the way it's writing is more vivid. I feel like, that's insane! Exclamation mark. The cafe's patrons are glued to the TV. I feel like it's more descriptive than it used to be. It's a subtle. Maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see, but I feel like it's affected that. Also, the idea, the crash in the back of the cafe and the dragon trying to squeeze through the back door seems a little more wacky adventure and a little more comedic than it was the first time around. So I feel like this is an example of the author's note affecting the story in a way that you can see that what we did actually did something. I hope. Now, this video is getting long, so I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon, but I want to talk about one more thing before we go. I've talked a lot about context and operational memory and all that stuff. That probably seems very vague and abstract at this point. So here's a way to find out exactly what's going on there. We can click on the last thing that was generated, and we can say view normally we can say view context. It's not going to let me right now. Maybe because we haven't gotten far enough. Okay, I'll take another action and see. I run to the back of the cafe. And what does it say? As you make your way to the back of the cafe, you can't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. You've never seen a real dragon before, let alone a baby one. You can hear the little guy struggling to fit through the door, his tiny claws scraping against the wooden frame. When you round the corner, you see the small dragon, whom you decide to name Bernie, stuck halfway through the door. So it remembered Bernie's the name, and it's decided that that's what you're going to call it, which I'm happy about because that's what I named it. So that's what I was going to call it. Perfect. Let's see, if we click on it now, we can do view context. I guess it just doesn't work on the first turn because there's no context yet on the first turn, really. So we're gonna click on view context, and here we can see the working operational memory or context that we have available here and what is using it all. So it says right here 406 out of 4,000 tokens. So what is a token? I'm not exactly perfectly certain what a token is, but it is a chunk of text. It is basically text that is being sent to the AI, and then sent back to us. So, or just I guess what's sent to the AI. So it is the action that you just did. I run into the back of the cafe. That is going to be a certain number of tokens. What I'm not clear about is exactly how many tokens that sentence would be. You run to the back of the cafe. I don't know exactly how many tokens that is. It's not 1 token per letter, but it's not necessarily 1 token per word. As far as I can tell, it's 1 token per several letters. So it gets, here we can hit details and we can see exactly. Adventure, 174 tokens. Prompt instructions, 155 tokens. So the action that I gave it, you run into the back of the cafe, was 155 tokens. That's way more than the number of letters it was. So oh, view tokens. Okay, so here we are. It's not just the last action, it's the last several actions. Oh my goodness, I just discovered you could hit this and see it. I didn't know. Okay. I'm not an expert at AI Dungeon. I'm learning too, so bear with me. Okay, this is fantastic though. This tells you exactly how many it is. So the word through was one token. The word partway was one token. Stops was one token. But also the period was one token. Every time I hit enter, it was one token. So summarization was two tokens because I guess the word was so big it got split into two tokens. So there you go. These are the tokens that it was sent under prompt instructions. Oh, and see, now it starts with you are an AI dungeon master that provides any kind of role playing game content. You and I have never typed that, right? That's part of the AI instructions, which they are going to let us edit eventually. You can already edit AI instructions if you're in the beta, but it's eventually going to come to the regular game or to the regular non-beta account when they're done testing it, I guess. But this is an example of some of the stuff that gets sent. Like the author's note should be in here too. Let's see, avoid repetition, blah blah blah. Those are instructions on how to write. Da, da, da. Okay, this is actually just the prompt instructions is just the author's note. Interesting. Let's look at the tokens of the adventure. You are Todd and you enjoy your job as a pilot. You just got off work. Okay, so the adventure is everything that has been typed in so far. You turn to see a small baby dragon. All of this stuff is part of the adventure. Interesting. Okay, so you can get really detailed here. You can see the story cards and exactly which story cards it has loaded. It has loaded the Bernie the Dragon story card, and that's using 6 tokens. It is loading the Samson the Barista, and that's using 20 tokens. So you can see the more story cards it loads, the more tokens it's going to use of your 4,000 tokens context. So I'm getting into the weeds here, I think. Oh, and the author's note, 31 tokens. Say the longer the author's note is, the fewer you're going to have here. So when you eventually have gone many turns, when you've gone many turns, you're going to have a whole bunch of text in adventure. Because the adventure is everything that's been written out, basically. And the adventure is eventually going to be longer than the 4,000 tokens we have available to us here, which means that eventually it's not going to remember this early stuff anymore. When the 4,000 tokens is filled up, it's only going to remember the most recent actions. It's gonna remember the author's note, the loaded story cards, the AI instructions, which are part of the beta, so I'm not going to go into them in a lot of detail right now, but we'll have access to them later. Maybe by the time you're viewing this. And after it's loaded all those things, then it's going to load the adventure. So the more of that stuff you have, the less far back in the adventure it can remember. So that's what all this context stuff is talking about. It's talking about how much it can remember when it generates the next sentence, and whether or not it's going to remember stuff that happened a long time ago. And that's where that's where me talking about making the story card brief and the author's note brief, that's where all of this comes into. Incidentally, tokens, how many tokens the AI has access to is somewhat dependent on this. Over here, if we click gameplay and go to AI models, Mixtral is the AI model that we're using. That's the storyteller. Different ones are going to have a different number of tokens. Also, the amount of money you're paying for your monthly subscription affects the number of tokens you can use in different ones as well. So Mixtral, if we click advanced settings, can use up to 4,000 tokens at the $10 level. Mixtral can go a lot higher if you pay more money, more monthly monies. And if we go, actually, I wonder if 4,000 is the same for all of them. If we go to Mytho Max, it's also 4,000. Okay, at the $10 level, you're going to get 4,000 out of everything. ChatGPT Turbo is not available at the $10 level because it's too good and also expensive. Okay, so for now, I would recommend. I mean, you can play with Mythomax and TIE Fighter. They just have a different writing style and a different storytelling style. But Mixtral is a good. If you're not ready to start tinkering with things, just stay on Mixtral for now. It's fine. Mixtral's a good all rounder. Okay, I feel like this video has gone on for a long time. There's more stuff to talk about, but you get the idea. Uh, you've got enough now that you can hop in there and you can create your own scenario and have fun with it. Also, I'll just say hit the discovery button up here, and you can see a bunch of other scenarios that other people have made. And a great way to learn how to make scenarios is to go in here and load someone else's scenario and see what it's all about. Also, if you click on filters here, you can, the content rating defaults to safe, which is probably good. You can choose and allow NSFW if you want to find. I did not mean to turn that on. I'm going to stick to safe because I'm recording this and we're going to stick to safe stuff. But you can, there's some smutty scenarios out there. There's a lot of smutty scenarios out there if that's what you're looking for. Anyway, this is all we're going to talk about today. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll play again soon.